Okay, welcome to this lesson. We're going to continue this lesson on cumulative frequency graphs. So over here we see a graph where we're trying to estimate the mass of an apple in grams. So if you look at the graph, this is actually like a distribution of their estimates, right? If you look at the horizontal axis over here, so we're just going to point at the horizontal axis. The horizontal axis represents the masses that we have for a total of 120 apples, right? So from here, we can actually deduce how many students participated in the survey. Okay, this question is actually quite straightforward. We are actually trying to ask you what is the total number of students that participated in this survey. And where you can actually find this answer is actually here, right? At the maximum, right? At the last point of the curve, and if you look carefully, it will be 120 students. Quite straightforward, nothing too difficult. Okay, that's for part one. So part A is pretty easy. Part B, we're gonna find the number of students whose estimates were greater than 190 grams, but not greater than 200 grams. So remember, cumulative frequency graphs are actually has always less than or equal to a certain value, right? So if I were to draw a dotted line at 190 to reach here, so this dotted line, what does this dotted line represent actually? So this dotted line will tell us here that there are, in this case, because it's 10, it is 16, right? There's 16 apples that are less than or equal to 190. So if you want anything greater, it's actually going to be more than that, right? But we want greater than 190, but not greater than 200 grams. So let's also look at 200 grams. Okay, so what we want is actually in between 200 grams and 190 grams. So since we want in between them, not that hard. So at 200 grams, there are 40 apples that are less than or equal to 200 grams. So if you want in between them, we're actually going to take 40 minus 16, and that will give you 24 apples. Right? Quite easy. Okay. So from here, we're also going to look at how many. We're going to redraw, or no, sorry, not redraw. Redo the frequency table, the group frequency table. And if you look at the masses, we're talking in between 80 to 190. At 180, we have 0 apples. So from 180 to 190, we have a total of 16 apples. So you can simply write as 16. Okay, from 190 to 200, we are going to take 40 minus 16. That gives you 24. Okay. Then what about 200 to 210? So you're going to find out what at 210, what is it? So at 210, it's here. Okay, this is at 210. Yep, over here. Okay, and that is about 74. So we're going to take 74 minus 40, right? Because 200 grams is 40, less than 40 apples that are less than or equal to 200 grams. So we take 74 minus 40, we will get 34. Okay, and then if we want between 210 and 220, we can just draw another dotted line, and to kind of like figure out what number is it. Okay, I'm using a dotted line here because it's much easier to be more accurate with this rather than not be accurate with this, right? And from here, we can see that this is about 102. So we take 102 minus 74. That would be about 28, right? So we take 100, this 28. And then the last one is 230. The 230 less than or equal to 230, but more than 220. So you take 120 minus 102, and that will give you 18, right? And that's it for part B. Okay, the last one is to draw a histogram. Okay, if you know what is a histogram, okay, so just quickly, just looking at histogram. Right, what is a histogram? Histogram is something like that, a bar graph, right? And all you need to just connect the the graphs together, and it's pretty straightforward actually. We're gonna kind of draw it. We're gonna use the thing here, okay, the grids here, and we're gonna draw this histogram. Use a scale of 1 cm to represent 10 grams on the horizontal axis for 180 to 230, and 1 cm to represent 10 students on the vertical y-axis from 0 to 180. Sorry, from 0 to 40. Okay, so let's draw the graphs very quickly. Draw one over here. Draw one over here. Okay, now the problem with here is that you need to, because you're only drawing from 180 to 230, right? There is actually a need to actually kind of draw that zigzag, the weird zigzag line. The zigzag line will indicate to us that your horizontal axis does not start from, skips a few values, right? And it skips a certain amount of values that we actually should need, but it's okay. We can, since we skip them, it's fine. Okay, and then you draw an axis like that. Alright, so you start at 0. Horizontal axis would be 180 to 230 with 1 cm representing 10 grams, right? So let's start here with 180. This means this will be 190, 200, 210, 220, 230, right? And then for the vertical axis, we want 1 cm to represent 10 students from 0 to 40. So this will be quite similar to the cumulative frequency curve. And then from here, I know it's a bit small, but from here we will just we will use the group frequency table to actually draw the histogram. So it's quite simple since there are 16 between 180 to 190. So what we're going to do is draw a line at where 16 would be, which is here, right? And then just draw straight lines to connect them like that, right? So this box here, this rectangle over here, will kind of represent between 180 to 190, okay? And then from 190 to 200 will be 24, so 24 will be here, okay? And you just need to just connect them. Looks good. Actually, you don't have to shade them lah. In fact, shading them is not necessary. Yeah, you don't have to shade them. You can not shade them. Yeah, it will look nicer without shading. Next we have 34. Draw a straight line at 34 between 200 and 210. Okay. Try to make sure it's quite. Use a ruler to do this. Please use a ruler to do this. Okay. I understand that some of you do not like to use a ruler for some reason, but please, your ruler is very important. Subsequently, over here is 28 and 18. So we have 28, which is here, and 18. I'm gonna do 18 first, then it's easier for me to just draw a straight line down. Right, and so this is actually what your histogram will look like. Okay, so this will be your gram mass, and this is your number of students. Okay, yeah, actually I don't really need such a long axis, so I'm just going to reduce it, and there you go, your histogram for the last part.